traveling fighters brought together by a common destiny now meet at the Battle Arena Toshinden. Many years have passed since this tournament, known only to those in the underworld, was last held. Some fighters have come for personal glory. Others have come to fight for those they love. But all will do their best to be victorious in this tournament, which will decide their fortunes.
Hey everyone, welcome back with Beano Mac, where today we're going to do another playthrough of Battle Arena Toshinden. Now, I believe I said that I was done. I may have moved on with our series last week. Can't remember. I mean, it was definitely, that was going to originally be the case. But, I decided, I am a big fan of this series. And I haven't played as too many different characters. Kane and Sho are the ones I usually play as when I play this game. I've beaten the game with Eiji and Gaia, but, I figured I might as well, do a little playthrough with another new character. Try somebody new. So this is completely fresh territory for me with Mr. Duke here. And I don't know, I've always been drawn to Duke. I think he has the coolest look in the game, which is the one I'm rocking right now, his alternate costume. The gold and the red. That's always a really cool look for me personally. And that was a pretty cool camera angle I see in there too. Haven't seen that before. Maybe because I was messing around with the camera controllers for some thumbnails, but we'll see. If it does, I'll probably just change it in the next fight or something like that. But either way, obviously he has a really cool look. Probably, fundamentally, as like a character, he's probably the absolute worst because he's the only one without a projectile. And, usually, you guys seen me face Duke in the past. I mean, he's just, he's got kind of like that one move that's good. And that's where he kind of like slinks forward with the blue energy and does that little combo there. I honestly can't figure out how to get that to work, to be honest. Whenever I do it, I just kind of do like the first hit or something like that. As you can see, like it just stops the combo for some reason. I don't know what the deal is, so I just tend not to use that stuff. Plus, I mean, you can see when I face them, like that just moves these them super exposed, so not the best move to use in a fight against a computer either. And Duke is a man of honor. He doesn't hit people when they're down, and that's something that's going to come into play in the next game, just to let you guys know. But I've always loved his theme. I think he has probably the best stage as well. So there's just a lot to like about this guy, but like I said, his playstyle was just never really my favorite. So I never really gotten around to like trying to learn to play as him. But I kind of realized, this game, it isn't really so much about the special moves. It isn't so much about the crazy attacks you can pull off. It's about waiting and listening. Which, if you're not sure what that means, that just means like just keep dodging until you get a free open attack here. And that just proves my point right there. He left himself open, and as Ryu once said, you let yourself open for a second, and a second is a lifetime in battle. I don't know, it's like half cool quote and half just like geekiness. Oh well, but as you can see, we're throwing out some cyclones, some smash drags in there, so it's not going to be a total boring fest, but like I said, I mean, it's all about strategy, waiting for your opportunity, and we're kind of getting our butts smacked now, but that's kind of all Toshinden is, really, But it's simple gameplay, and I love it. I may have to dish out some cheese tactics, though, too, because I don't know how I'm going to fare against characters that spam projectiles, and that was pretty awesome, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, that was completely by accident. I have no idea how to do his desperation attack, because like I said, I've never beaten the game with Duke, so that's probably the only time you're going to get that, but that was pretty awesome. I am so happy that I actually hit that. But now we're going against, Duke's mortal enemy here, Mr. Long Range himself, and that is Mondo. He can hit me from like halfway across the screen, especially with that little, downward attack that he does, Yep, right there. But like I said, he leaves himself open, so I mean, it's all about capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes. That's the Toshinden rule. And maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to cheese some ring outs here. The best in this game is when you knock somebody out and then, they stumble forward and fall off the stage. That's like a double victory, but I don't know. That's pretty rare. I don't know if I can pull that off. Look at him. Crumpled mess. Look at that. That is the coolest pose in the whole game, too. But yeah, he's pretty much, if you haven't known, Duke is pretty much like he's a French nobleman or whatever, you know, he's a knight, he's a classic into chivalry and stuff like that, you know, so he likes to hold the door open for ladies and, you know, move the seat out for them before they take a seat, so he's, you know, he's a gentleman, let's put it that way, and I mean the real gentleman, not those guys that, you know, hey, I pulled that seat out for you, so now, you know, you better have sex with me, because that's kind of the unwritten rule there. No, not one of those weirdo creeps. He's a true gentleman and scholar, so he was undefeated in his little, you know, secluded castle. You know, he was the toughest knight. And then he met Eiji, who is one of the main characters is the main character of this game, I should say. And Eiji just apparently mopped the ever-loving floor with him. Got his butt smacked, and so Duke decided he had to travel out, you know, learn a few new holds, as Jim Ross from WWE would have to say. And he's out for revenge against Eiji, and to prove that he is, in fact, the greatest fighter we got here, you know. So I think I even mentioned it in a previous video. He's kind of like the Hwoarang to Eiji's Jin. Although the thing about Hwoarang is Hwoarang ended up actually getting a few victories for himself in the Tekken series, which is pretty crazy to think, because he's actually one of the strongest characters in the series. I mean, he did beat Jin quite a few times, honestly, so for him to be able to actually go toe-to-toe and beat a Mishima, that's actually pretty crazy stuff there. And I was speaking about a lot of the Toshinden stuff, so like I said, the whole history of this you know, series is it was the first 3D fighter on the PlayStation console. First weapons-based 3D fighter ever, I believe. You know, it beat out Soul Blade or not Soul Blade, it's Soul Edge and Soul Calibur. And on top of that, you know, it was even beats Tekken, I believe, to the PlayStation. So, you know, that's kind of why this series really has any sort of notoriety to begin with. It kind of is like, for me, if you're a wrestling games fan, it's like the Legend of Wrestling of like the 3D fighting game genre, because you know it has a lot of cool elements to it in my opinion, but you know, I think the gameplay could have been done better, and you know, compared to other, you know, titles in the you know, the genre and stuff like that, it's just, you can find better things, better ways to play. But that said, I mean, the first one's always going to have so much, you know, nostalgia for me. I love, even to this day, like, I'm playing it because I enjoy playing this whole series. So it is a bit slow, it is a little sluggish. It actually works a lot better on this emulator than it does in consoles. In consoles, when people are rolling, it's constant slowdown. And of course the music is always fantastic as well. But even then, I mean, like, even from this first game, like, it had so much, like, advertisement. It was on the PlayStation Classics that released, you know, that was pretty much in response to like the NES and SNES classics and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. You know, it is a game. I'd argue it is a pretty decent sized piece of gaming history. You know, when you look at it, just for, you know, being the first of its kind. And obviously, you know, better games would come along and stuff like that. But I don't know. This title, it's just crazy how much of a franchise they tried to make this. You know, it has 3 sequels, 4 games in total. I mean, they went through a whole arc too. I mean, the first 2 were just like this, you know, it's ring out, you know, establishing the characters in the series and stuff like that with the tournament. Then the third one, I believe, is it's still about the same tournament and the same characters. However, there's no ring out anymore. It's about bouncing, you know, using walls and bouncing off of things to get combos going and stuff like that. And as you can tell, there's not really any combos in this game. I forget it. I've only played the first 2, so I forget if the second one has combos or not. But we'll find out when I play through. And then the fourth one just kind of does like a huge jump, you know? Huge jump. And Eiji, I think, is the only character in the original and the fourth one. And he's like an old man at that point. It's a whole generation of new fighters. I think maybe a big villain that comes in later, you know, in the next game, and he's like the main villain of the series. I think his name is Vermilion, and he's like just kind of a douchebag. He has like guns and everything like that, so he's like a cheap asshole and stuff. But I think he might come back as well, but I can't remember in the fourth one because obviously I've never played it. It's Japan exclusive. But even besides that, you know, I had so much stuff. I had anime, I had a puzzle fighter game. So they really did, I think it had like even more stuff than that, you know. They really did try and make this like a big series at the time. They even had Earthworm Jim in the PC port of this game, you know. This was ported from PlayStation to PC to Sega Dreamcast, the Dreamcast version of this game, you know. Added all the war and more to the war, and added a new character, Show. You know, he gets a wife in that, you know, for a short period of time, you know. Her name's Cupido. You know, she's like the final boss of that game, even in the Dreamcast version only. Doesn't show up anymore, but you know, like, Sho hates the organization because she was assassinated at some point by them and stuff like that. So, bit of a tragic backstory there. But obviously, you know, like, they constantly added to this game. It constantly got ported. It had so many more titles in the franchise. You know, it's crazy how much they tried to make this a big deal, and just nobody really remembers this title that much, other than like the first game that came out, and it's kind of mostly known for not being as good as like Tekken and you know, Soul Calibur and stuff like that, which is sad. You know, I even was saying in the last video, it's just a wonder, you know, what would have happened if you know, they would have gotten a second chance on the PS2, but obviously, you know, it run out of steam completely at that point by the time the fourth game was released, and that was at the end of the PlayStation 1 cycle. Japanese exclusive, you know, because it just wasn't really doing the same numbers that, you know, the first one did and stuff like that. And I guess that's just kind of what you're gonna do. And you may be noticing my score is kind of down at this point. This is the first fight that I lost. Yes, unfortunately, I did not have a perfect run, but that's alright. You know, if I didn't say anything, maybe you wouldn't have noticed. I have no idea. But, yeah, Sophia is like, I thought it was going to be Mondo, but it's actually Sophia who is like Duke's kryptonite. Because, you know, she has a projectile, but the biggest issue is her spinning attacks. So we're going to try and get out some cheese here. The only way I'm winning is if I do, yeah, that right there, because it just encompasses everything. But oh man, oh boy! All right, it's a draw. It's a draw. All right, so that means nobody wins. So we at least get another chance at another life here, folks. But yeah, that's pretty much the only way I think we're gonna be able to win, because our spin attacks, it doesn't. Most attacks leave you open for, you know, counter attacks. Sophia, that does not work. I've tried, you know, I've tried to do my smash drag, my cyclone. It just doesn't work, man. So we're gonna have to try and cheese it like that. There you go, beautiful. And obviously, you know, like for most characters, since they have projectiles, they can just shoot like a fireball at her while she's spinning. You know? So I mean, Duke doesn't have that option, but alright, at least those thunder rings don't go. Ooh, that was close, that was close. We gotta be careful too, because I could potentially roll out of the ring myself, but come on. Yes. You gotta love it, folks. Look at that. That was a mark of a champion. And interestingly enough, so I don't know how it works, so I thought that like to face Sho, which is the final boss in the game, he's like the secret boss and stuff like that, you can only face him on hard and very hard. And I thought what you're supposed to do is you have to completely beat everybody, do not lose a single fight once, right? You can lose a round, but you cannot lose a single fight overall. And obviously I just told you I lost to Sophia. But you're gonna see I'm going to fight Sho anyway, so I don't know if it's like a case of where, like, you know, as long as you unlock the secret battle with him on the disc, well, you know, like, it's on. So for example, every time you turn the game off, it's something that doesn't save. So I always just load the state that I was in on my emulator unless if it crashes. So I don't know if it's something like once you unlock the secret boss fight on the disc and stuff like that, and maybe like unlock Sho and Gaia and stuff, that, you know, any other time that you play on hard or very hard, you automatically, even if you lose, you get to face Sho, or if it's because it's an emulator, it glitched out or something. I have no idea, but I'm not going to complain. I'm reaping those benefits of, you know, being able to beat Sho and get the final ending of these characters instead of just like, hey, there's more fighters to find, stuff like that. So another cool thing, Mortal Kombat was the first series to have secret fighters, but Battle Arena Toshinden was another series to kind of capitalize on that, another really cool factor. So Sho was like the only one in this game but in Battle Arena Toshinden 2, I believe there's like 2 or 3 secret fighters. Like Sho, I think, is another one of them. And I think in 3, there's like another whole mess of secret fighters in that game and stuff like that. You know, secret win conditions to be able to fight those guys and stuff. So that's just another aspect of Battle Arena Toshinden I love and kind of miss in fighting games. It's really cool. Mortal Kombat 1, the one that just recently come out, have not heard very good things about that game. However, it is cool that there is, you know, that return to, you know, the original Mortal Kombat stuff with like the secret hidden boss fights. You know, now they got Floyd, and I think it's pretty lame. You know, it's not as catchy as like Rain, Purple Rain. Obviously, that's a joke. And he's the prince of Edenia. So like, there's a whole lot of cool, funny lore there, but it all works, right, with Rain. Especially since his powers, you know, what they have to do with that. Floyd is just like a pink ninja. Pink Floyd. That's kind of the joke. There's not really much else there, and I don't know. Floyd is just, it's just kind of a weird name in general. So, I don't know. I'm sorry to all the people named Floyd and stuff like that. I'm just saying it's not the most intimidating fighting game character name. You know what I mean? You know, like my name, for example, you know, Wesley. If that was the name of a fighter, I would not be thinking, oh, yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, I mean, I'd be thinking Wesley. That's really the best they got. All right, so we defeated another fighter, Ellis. And now it's time for the mirror match. You know, to be able to win the tournament, I have to be able to defeat myself. And I hate how he keeps like turning as he's doing that move too. So I always forget to not, you know, to stop dodging and rolling and stuff like that during that move, because that's how you defeat it. Is just keep blocking it. Look at this. We look like a bunch of idiots. I'm trying to do my smash track cyclone attack. The best part is because usually that's when they'll start throwing fireballs. But since he doesn't have it, like, he's just looking as much of a moron as I am. I love it. I don't know. This might be a tough one too, because, you know, he might be my kryptonite too. Because since we don't have projectiles, you know, we're relying on hand-to-hand combat. Ooh! I'm glad I blocked that, but golly gee willikers, man. You shouldn't have been able to hit me with that anyway. I was dodging. But man, look at this stage, man. This is such a cool little stage they got here. Man, I would love if somebody like just remade the textures of Battle Arena Toshinden. Maybe there is a version of that, like an HD version. I'm just unaware of it. I doubt it. Like I said, I love this game. It's not the most popular game, though. I think most people just kind of look at it as like, oh man, this is a stain on the 3D fighting game, you know, backlog or whatever. But I mean, if they redid these textures so it doesn't look like, you know, we're fighting on, I don't even know what the hell this is, like a gray piece of poop or something like that, pixelated to hell. This game would look beautiful, and imagine how awesome and cool these fighters would look if we didn't have, you know, if we had some HD textures. Ooh, yeah, you know, you love that, folks. That was a skilled move right there, you know. I just took them and dragged them back. But now it's time for our battle with Gaia, and we did lose. I swear, like I said, I was mentioning about slowdown and on console. And I'm starting to think that the reason why Gaia was so easy to me back then is because of the slowdown. So I don't know if, like, maybe because I'm fighting him how at like normal speed, like how you would imagine you would have to fight him. Like, I'm no longer cheesing the ever-loving hell out of him. But he used to be like the easiest character by far in the entire game, other than maybe Rungo to fight. So the fact that I'm getting my booty smacked and clapped by Gaia of all people is, you know, I don't know, it's got to be like an emulator thing. You know, I'm playing the game how they actually intended it. Holy shit, that is definitely some slowdown. I don't even know what the hell that was. I think that was his desperation attack, and it's just, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine if somebody redid the textures and that wasn't just a ball of gray pixels, man, you know? And it's weird too, because, like, look at the floor, right? Like, the floor, it's just a bunch of checkered tiles, but like, it actually looks good in this stage. Then there's other stages where like the walls look detailed and good, but then like the floor just looks like a pixelated mess. Like, it's just so inconsistent. And like I said, I think the only stage that looks consistently good all around is like Eiji's stage, Eiji and KN. So it makes me wonder, was this game even like technically finished, or like were they just like, were those placeholder textures on some stages? Like Rungo's stage is by far the absolute worst stage in the entire game. Come on, no, no, no! Oh, I could have had a perfect, man. God dang it. That's right. Now we just got one more to go. And yeah, if you're wondering, my score's back at 0. Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be right up front and honest. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'll be honest when I get my fanny smacked. You know, I'll be honest. I mean, and Sho, I think the first time I fought him, I actually got a perfect in the first round. Then he just came back. He was saying he wasn't taking that, and he made sure my fanny was beat red by the end of it. But, you know, I like to try and, you know, it's the reason why you don't see the character select thing on here. I try and just cut out all the fluff in these videos and stuff like that. It's not that I'm embarrassed that I lost. Like I said, I'll point it out. It's just, you know, if people are clicking on my videos and stuff like that, I want to try and not waste their time as much as possible. So I take out all the loading screens. I take out all the fluff and stuff like that. And if I lose, unless if it's just like really funny, maybe I'll leave a little quick clip of it in. But that's just kind of how I like to do my videos and stuff. And like here's another perfect example of that stage I was talking about. Look at the stuff in the background. The sky looks really cool, crisp, and clean. You can't really see it again, but if you look at the buildings in the background, you're gonna see that they are very clean textures. And then you look at what we're fighting on, the stuff that you would think they would make look the cleanest, and it's just a pixelated mess. Like, what are we fighting on? Where are we? Are we on a mountaintop, or like, I can't really tell. I don't know. Thank you guys for watching though, and if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out next week's episode on Fighting Friday, but above all else, please remember to have a nice day.